All right. Hello, everyone. Happy December. Um, we're still starting. Hi, everyone. Happy December. My name is Nikki Wetzel. I am the Director of Communications and Advancement here at Prosperity Connection. Welcome to our December live Lunch and Learn. We're going to talk about all things financial resolutions today. We know those are really common. Most people set any type of resolution, and then I believe the second most common type is financial. So we thought, why not talk about it today? So I'm joined by Heather, who is our St. Louis Builds Credit Coordinator, and Sasha, one of our lead financial coaches. And we're just going to walk through a few high-level things, maybe give you some examples of financial resolutions you could set, how to choose if you've got several that you might want to work towards, and then how to set yourself up for success. So you can see the comment there. Please chime in with questions, comments, concerns. Heather and Sasha are experts and would love to answer any questions that you have. So yeah, let's dive in, ladies. So let's start with the what. Maybe talk about some of the most common resolutions or goals y'all have heard of, maybe even some you've set. Give us some ideas.
So I would say most people start at being very general. I want to save money, or I want to pay down some debt, or another one would be mine, reduce spending. November, December's been a free for all.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's time to sit down and kind of hone in and figure out, start fresh, basically.
Yeah.
So I would say if you have something as broad as save money, narrow that down. And we talk about SMART goals all the time. Make it turn into a SMART goal. Talk about, okay, how are you going to do that? You've got the broad, I want to save money. Figure out how you're going to do that. Set some boundaries, some guidelines, some goals.
Same things like, oh, I want my credit score to go way higher. Okay, well, why? What are you working on? How much time are you going to need? How much higher are we talking? Everything needs to be a little more tangible. You need to be able to set goals, see it through, actually have I can't think of the word, but make it, measurable.
No.
Yes, be measurable.
Realistic.
Yes.
Yep.
So we've talked credit score increase might be a good one, savings, debt reduction. Have you set any personal financial goals or resolutions either in the past or are you looking to?
Well, savings is a big one.
Yeah.
But once again, you got to narrow it down.
Yes. Yep.
Fit your values. We are going on vacation, so
Nice.
we stay for that. And then we have my husband's 40th the year after, so it's another saving for vacation.
Yep.
It's all about in big places.
Yes. Yep. Ooh, I can relate to that one. That tends to be, yeah, that tends to be my goal is saving.
Me as a financial coach, think big. What do you want to do in 5 years or 10 years? And I've never really thought about that before. Don't just focus on the next 3 months. What else? Build yourself up so that you can prepare for the next 5 years instead of 5 years later. Oh shoot! Like I wasn't ready for this.
Yeah.
Think about long term. What do I want to achieve? What do I want to accomplish? How do I want to make my money work for me?
And that's why your short goals should be in line with your values and making sure that this is actually what you want and what you desire.
Yeah.
To make it fit.
I loved emphasizing that when I worked as a coach. Like, it's really easy, I feel like, especially in our society. I don't love this phrase, but like the keeping up with the Joneses mentality, It is so easy to be influenced by seeing like, oh, so-and-so bought the white picket fence. Well, homeownership might not actually be what you want and what aligns most with your values, or take that with any goal. Like, so you just really have to be intimately familiar with yourself and your values to know what is ultimately like good for you and your family.
And so may have financed that white picket fence with a really high interest rate.
That's
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Fancy new car. Fancy. They don't do it.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. You don't know what other people are going through. They may have nicer, better things, but they also have those bills coming in. They could be in a really good and just about,
XYZ.
you have no idea what people are going through. Don't care.
Yeah, be confident in yourself and what is best for you and your family. Awesome. I see a couple other people are watching. I'd be curious to hear if you feel comfortable chiming in what some of your resolutions or goals are for your finances for the new year. If you feel comfortable, pop them in there in the chat. I'd love to see that. Any last comments or thoughts about the big, like, what and ideas before we move on?
Basically know what's coming in and know what's going out.
Mhm.
As far as your pay, know what your bills are and know what you've got extra to, because sometimes you may not have anything extra.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's what, instead of working on savings or reducing debt, like I need to figure out, what's going on. I need more in, or I need less going out, and start there first.
Yep.
Know where your money is going.
Yep, it's simple on the surface, but having that budget, having that spending plan is super, super important. Quick sidebar, if that's something that you would be interested in having, getting some help with, come January, we're actually going to be doing our series of classes again. We've spent the last several months doing a fun revamp of them, making sure that they're up to date, the most helpful, and so on. And the very first one will be on building your spending plan. I believe that will be Thursday, January 11th. You can check out our website, prosperityconnection.org, to see the schedule of classes, but that very first one will help you figure out how to build a budget. All right, let's move on to the second piece. So we've got all these ideas, all these potential goals, all these potential resolutions. We can't always work on all of them, so how do we pick?
I want to use the example, someone on my Facebook feed said this, and I really resonated with me, like, don't expect to wake up Monday morning and be a completely different person.
Oh, yes.
But at Monday, I always expect to be a completely different person on Monday. You set up all these things for yourself, and you're just setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
I would say start like,
Yep.
don't, okay, I'm gonna save $1,000 a month. Probably. That's
Keep
great.
it real.
I used to do that all the time.
Yes.
Like, I'm not gonna spend a penny. I'm not gonna do anything with my hair. I'm not gonna get haircuts. I'm not gonna shop on Amazon. That works for maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you feel you're depressed and you're setting yourself up for failure. So I would say just start small. See where your money's going, and are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Mine used to be coffee shops. I was spending so much money going to coffee shops, and now I'm drinking a hot tea, and I switched from the $6 drink to $2.
Yeah.
It's just like just make small changes.
I love that. What you said reminds me of what I hear people talking about with food. If you restrict yourself too much and are, too concentrated on counting this and counting that, I mean, it might work for a little bit, but then it's
like a spring that you hold too tight, and when you let it go.
So same thing with your finances. Real quick before you answer, Sasha, thank you so much for popping in there. Keeping credit cards to emergency mode only is a resolution.
So we talk about baby steps. So first you have to get the credit card balances down, and you're not really using them at all. And then you have to have that savings. The reason people use credit cards is because they don't have emergency savings. So
Ooh, good. Do you mind elaborating a little bit more on that, Sasha? That's, great point. Like, so go back to the savings piece.
yeah, so essentially if you don't have, if an emergency pops up, your tire pops, you have to fix your car. You have to be able to get to work.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the funds for it, you put it on credit, or you go there and they're offering to finance it for you at a horrible interest rate. So you're relying on that credit when really you should be relying on savings. Savings is kind of hard for people to do because they're like, how?
Yeah.
I don't have that. And as we're talking about how to pick your goals, you can't say, oh, I want to save $100,000 this year and your income be $50,000, obviously.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yep.
But baby steps. You can still save. You can save $5, $10, $15 a paycheck. Put it back. Don't touch it. At some point, that's going to be enough to be considered like, okay, something
Yeah.
goes wrong, I can rely on my savings.
Yep. So then once you have that card paid down and once you have that cushion elsewhere, then, if we're talking about how to set yourself up for success, those are some great tips. And again, I'm so sorry to pause you, Sasha. I did, someone asked if we could repeat where we can find the classes. Absolutely. Our website is prosperityconnection.org. I believe there's a link directly to it in the bio of our Facebook page if you pop over there. If you go to Get Started, big button in the top right corner, that will take you to all of our services that you can sign up for, but one of them is the classes, and you can find the schedule and so on. So thank you for asking that. All right, Sasha, sorry, I delayed you so much. How do you pick what goal you work on?
I mean, once again, it's going back to what's realistic. I mean,
Yep.
so what do you want? You know, as you talk, I mentioned the credit score. Well, why do you want it?
Yeah.
How long is this going to take you? So something that's realistic for you to actually, so you're not setting yourself up for failure. What's your desires this year? You know, not just like you said, what other people are doing, but what do you actually, what is going to bring you personal joy? What is going to bring you stability? What is going to make you like financially healthy, you know?
Yep.
So it's different for each person. So you need to look and like, this is where, and it all starts with the city plan, like you said. It all starts with what's coming in, what's going out, because you can't really do much else with that.
I love that you talked about what brings you joy. I feel like that's one of the things I see constantly missing from a lot of the mainstream financial advice out there. Like everybody's like, oh, skip your latte because it's making you poor. No, it's really not. It's really not. If someone tells you that, please run away. Like,
5 or 6 a week. The biggest.
But- Okay. Please never remove the joy from your life with your budget. And I don't think enough folks emphasize that.
It's bordering the line of treat yourself to, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, to totally just, no, you can't have any of it. You got to
Yep.
balance.
Yeah. Like you said, it's like that spring. You just keep making yourself miserable and miserable. Just, yeah. 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 And I go back to what you keep emphasizing, Sasha, about values and making sure you understand what's important to you. But I remember from my time coaching, not everybody is already familiar with what their personal values are. So if you're sitting here going, oh, well, wait, like, I don't, you know, what values am I tying to? We would highly encourage you to spend a few minutes really thinking about what's important to you. You know, there's a couple questions you can ask yourself to help identify your personal values. One of those could be, you know, if my friends and family were to describe what's important to me, I would want blank to be included. Maybe that's family, maybe that's independence or security. The other question you could ask yourself is, what about having money is important to me? What does money ultimately, you know, represent and provide? And maybe that's generosity, maybe that's also security. So think of those like one word answers that come to your mind if you think about those questions, and that might help you identify some of your personal values. And then you can think about how your resolutions align with that.
And when you're starting there, and then you're going to go back and look at your your bank statements and see if they're actually aligning.
Ooh,
Making
yes.
sure like, oh, am I spending my money on it? Do I actually value those things? So then you're going to be like, hey, this doesn't match up, or maybe it does.
Yep. You have a funny anecdote about that. Do you mind sharing it?
Teaching the budgeting class that we have, and she said that she, you know, was thinking about her values, what was important, and then looking at her bank stubs, there was bank stubs, thank you. And there was a lot of Chick-fil-A, and she's like, okay, do I value Chick-fil-A? And she's like, I don't, but it looks like, looking at your bank statements, that, you know, you value Chick-fil-A. And I was just thinking, I've tried to get away from Amazon, but lately I said it's been a spending free for all. You know, Amazon, it's like, I don't want to be that person that buys stuff just randomly at Amazon, you know. And
Yeah.
usually whenever I teach classes, I tell them that I have a 2-week window. I put something in
good,
the
yes.
cart. If I go back and I still want it, odds are I don't. And I haven't been following that rule for myself. So I'm like, okay, no more Amazon. I'm deleting my debit card off of Amazon. I might just change my password to something random that I don't even remember. And it makes it, you gotta check yourself sometimes, you know? You just check yourself. And it's just like, okay, is it worth getting up and getting that debit card out of your wallet?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I love that idea because now, especially if you have Apple products, when you're creating a password, they suggest these long, complicated ones. You could do that, but not have it saved, and then you But I love what you're speaking to. This is kind of a nice segue into the how to set yourself up for success, because I think these are some awesome tips. I like to try to set myself spending, what are they called? Like qualifications, like, okay, if I'm gonna buy myself a piece of, so clothes are my weakness, clothes and books. But so for me, piece of clothing, what I try to do, don't always succeed because that's just not realistic. What I try to do is always make sure a piece of clothing that I buy matches at least 3 other things in my closet. If it doesn't, yeah. And then I also do what you do. I put a bunch of things in my cart. Sometimes that just fills gives you the serotonin boost that you need. And then I end up not wanting it. I totally forget about it. I come back a week later, my cart has 15 things, and I'm like, I don't need any of that.
Now I get emails like, hey, your cart's
Yeah.
waiting for you.
Want to get you.
Subscribe.
Yeah, I love that. So let's keep that as, unless you had anything else to say about the how to choose.
No.
We can use that as a segue into the final section, which is tips for setting ourselves up for success. Whichever you want to go first, go right ahead. I'm gonna sit back here and close the blinds a little bit.
I was gonna say, definitely, you're gonna make mistakes.
Mhm.
You know, you're not gonna be perfect through this. So, if I happen to go splurge and buy, my thing is I like vitamins. I buy vitamins, I'm a vitamin junkie. If I go and buy a bunch of vitamins on Amazon, it's okay. It's gonna be all right. You learn from your mistakes. Say, okay, I just won't do that again.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing is just making sure you're sticking to it. It takes a while to build habits. I mean, a really long time.
Yes, it
I
does.
keep hearing different numbers. I'm not going to put one out there. Scientifically, I'm unsure. But you have to keep doing it. And even when you don't, you have to make sure you just do it again, next time. So building those habits, but also knowing when like, okay, I'm 6 months in, this is really hard. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Just knowing when like, okay, I need to pivot. It's okay to do that too.
Always give yourself grace.
Yes.
That's the other thing that I don't hear a lot in, again, mainstream financial advice is, and I think that's why a lot of people think they're terrible at budgeting or I can't budget. It's because it's not an innate thing and it takes a really long time to build a habit, but we go through 1 month of a budget and we don't do well and it's like, screw it.
Or they're like, my credit's the worst. And it's
Yeah.
like, actually, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But they don't know how it works or the rules keep changing. And
Yes.
so it is. It's really stressful. So you have to give yourself lots of grace.
Always be kind to
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah.
Anything you would suggest?
I
Tip?
would say I was reading, so I was a nerd about credit, obviously, plans, and I was reading, take an hour to yourself, Sunday early evening, get your mug of coffee or hot tea, get a cozy blanket, get your budgeting app. We use our own little things, get a cute little notebook and give yourself time to look and see what's going on. Okay, this is what happened this month. This worked, this didn't, I want to work on this, and just kind of set out like a financial time for yourself, like an hour,
Yes.
once a month to say, or even every week, just depending on how often you do your budget, and just figure out this didn't work, this worked, I want to change this. And I do that every month. I get excited for the beginning of the month because I'm like, okay, let's see what happened. What did I do good? What do I need to work on? And do that for yourself. I think everybody deserves to sit down and just look. And I know it's scary. Sometimes people say, I don't know what I want. I want to know what's going in. I just pay my bills and that's it. But I think everyone deserves to sit down and just figure out, where's my money going?
Yeah. I think this might surprise you. I actually just saw a TikTok or reel, whatever, maybe a couple hours ago, like earlier today, where someone was interviewing a couple, like kind of one of those random street interviews. And it was like, hey, do you know how many subscriptions you have? Do you know how much you spent on eating out? And I mean, it was meant to be a lighthearted, like fun commercial promoting, I think, probably a budgeting app. But it just was the perfect demonstration of how out of touch we can be. I think the couple guessed that they had 5 or 8 subscriptions and they had 25. Or at most they spent 200 eating out and it was actually 400. So that is not to shame anybody. That is never ever the point. It's really hard, especially since we don't operate with cash much anymore. It is so easy to swipe and forget how much that cost, and when we don't just constantly see it coming out, it can be really easy to like disconnect. So it's really, really important to be honest with yourself and really sit down and get that picture, because sometimes we can just be totally off on our estimates.
I was just looking at Amazon subscriptions. I have some collagen coming in. I've got 3 different vitamins coming in. It's like, okay, I've got Book of the Month Club. I've
Yes.
got Audible. And then I'm talking to my husband and he's looking at the Roku and he's like, okay, we pay this for Netflix, this for Hulu, this for HBO Max. Plus we have like cable. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like we're paying $250 a month to watch television. It's like, we need to talk about this because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a great, I'm glad you just said that. That made me think of a really good question. Do you guys have suggestions for how to talk with your partner about money? I mean, talking about money can, one, be really hard, and we know it's really taboo. What would you recommend for talking to partners?
Honesty. I feel like you have to be really, really transparent with each other and with what's going on. And I understand you still want the privacy. Some couples don't want to share like
Yeah.
all of that, and that's fine. But you have to just be transparent about like, at least the situation that's happening.
Yeah.
Because each couple, or they're gonna have their own method of how they're doing things. Like me and my husband, we share everything. We share
Yeah.
a bank account. We share, and then I know somebody who's like, no, everything's separate. They have one account for the household. I know, you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
there's so many different ways to do it, and it's great. But it all has to work with communication and honesty.
I would say definitely be honest and don't shame your partner.
Yeah.
Did this, and he's like, okay, you're
Yeah.
gonna get Taco Bell, but that's fine.
But ours.
Exactly. It's just like,
Loves Arby's.
yeah, to be judgy with your partner.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, because then they'll come to you with, you know what I mean? They'll start like, not telling you about things.
Exactly. I was just gonna say, like, that seems like such simple advice, but our natural inclination is to probably judge or like get our heckles up. And so just that, being willing to be vulnerable and honest is very important and is key. I saw a question come in. Want to save for traveling, don't know how much to save since I'm not sure how much it will cost. What do you think I should do? I have a lot of opinions because I love to travel and have vacations, and I know you do too. So I'd love for all of us to chime in. Why don't you go first?
My first thought was, when I'm bored and I'm watching television, I will plan like pretend vacations.
Yes.
I would just get on Expedia and say, how much is it to travel here? How much,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And just go on VRBO and price things. And I'd say kind of start there to get an idea.
Great.
Yeah.
I have like 3 to 5 big vacations planned, just because I'm curious, like.
My VRBO, I have like all these different boxes of places just all over the country, all over the world. Just kind of, you can tell like, okay, when's a good time?
Yeah.
You get on their calendar and say, oh, okay, if I go here in March versus going here in July, the price is gonna be way different.
Yeah.
And just start planning pretend vacations and get an idea of how much it's gonna cost.
Yep. My favorite thing to do is Pinterest is my go-to for travel planning. I look up every possible blog or pin about a place that I'm interested in. I start a whole board for that particular place. And typically, bloggers have gotten a lot better about telling you what like the daily average that they spent was, or they may tell you like what the average, like the average person, like you can anticipate this much for not room and board, that's college, but like lodging, this much for food. The other thing to pay attention to that has been really revolutionary for me, but was kind of eye-opening, is paying attention to currency. Like for example, planning for South Africa, which is a trip I took in 2019. Compared to the US dollar, their currency was particularly weak. So we were able to get an incredible Airbnb for like just ridiculously low price. And then that also helped us know, okay, cost of meals out is going to actually be way less. So that's just like a kind of a weird detail to pay attention to, is like the strength of their currency compared to ours, because that really can affect your planning. So use Pinterest, heck, use Google. And actually, I just thought of this. There is a new, everything is AI nowadays. There is a new AI chatbot on WhatsApp, and it's called Guide Geek. And you can ask it any question related to travel, and it has the best responses. It can give you recommendations and suggestions. I guarantee if I pulled it up right now and asked it, how much on average would I spend per day if I went to Iceland? I guarantee it could come up, well, if you want to do a budget trip, it would be this much. Mid-level would be this much. Luxury would be this much. I guarantee that's probably how it would
That's
answer.
awesome.
It's fantastic. I've been using it so much recently. So plan some fake vacations, use Pinterest, find Guide Geek on WhatsApp, all can help you.
You just planned
travel.
a vacation, so how did you figure out like budgeting for your upcoming vacation?
Mark did that.
Mark did. Plan. Take care of it.
I mean, yeah, whenever we do that, I mean, usually you have a date picked before, I mean, or date or where you're going, one of the two. So I mean, those both, it just depends, like you said, on where you're going and when you're going. But I mean, if it's, you have to be out enough for you to save every month, and you have to have, I mean, if you don't know the amount, you have to kind of get that budget, because then you have to set aside that amount each month. So I mean, really starting there.
That was a great question. You clearly got us on.
Yeah.
You did. We have just about 5 minutes left. So just as a reminder for everyone watching, please, if you have a question, pop it in the chat. I'm going to reel us back into the setting ourselves up for success. And if you have any other tips or ideas.
I would say, like I said, mine is to reduce my spending. So I'm going to go into like Old Navy, Gap, Amazon. I'm going to delete my credit cards out of there.
Nice.
Yeah,
Smart.
that's my plan for when
Yeah.
we're off in between Christmas and New Year. So
Fabulous.
I'm gonna go in there and just delete that, make it a little bit more difficult. I have to kind of play a little game with myself, like
Yeah.
I don't need this stuff, and try to stay off the internet. Yeah, Facebook and their ads, they know me so well. Yes.
Yes.
Savings is a huge one for me this year. Have different buckets for different savings, but the big one is vacation savings. But my biggest tip though is just baby steps. Start small,
Yeah.
get into the habit of it, and just build up. Start small.
It reminds me of the book Atomic Habits. If anybody has read that, it's all about. It's really good.
Freaking marking things.
It's really good. It's starting small, and some of the tips that I have always latched onto and liked are about like build ways to help build those habits. And one of my favorite things, and I'll use your example of like setting time aside for yourself to actually look at your finances once a month. I call that my money ritual. So, making it fun for myself, making it productive. But if something like that is hard for you to build, one of the suggestions is to like sandwich it between things that you already automatically always do. So, you get ready for bed every night, whatever that means for you. You brush your teeth, you wash your face, whatever. Like, okay, between that and the time that I pick up my book and read or crawl into bed, like that's my money ritual. It's like my wind down or, something else. Find something that you already do and sandwich it in the middle so that you kind of like build upon that. And I'm also a really big fan of giving yourself a reward as you're working towards it. Like the money ritual idea, like you should make it fun for you. Like it shouldn't be like, I'm going to sit at unless this is what you like, I'm going to sit at my kitchen table and I'm just, going to have my notebook and make it fun. Get that blanket, get the candle. I actually had a client when I was a coach that she did her money ritual. I forget if it was once a month or every other month. She took herself to the tea room here in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I've never been there. That was her reward after. So she would like do her ritual. I forget what day of the week, and then like her treat and her reward afterwards was to go to the tea room. And I was like, yes, do that. Like to get yourself into that rhythm. Systems is important. So. All right, we've got just a couple minutes left, but I don't think that I have seen any questions come through. So I'll just take this opportunity to plug our services. We've been talking about like how to set yourself up for success and, making the goals specific and aligned with your values. And again, wonderful advice, can seem simple. Sometimes implementing it is not that simple, and that is why we are here, and that is why we do things like this. So I've already talked about our classes. We have 4 really great core financial education classes. The one I mentioned about budgeting, we have one that covers credit kind of as a whole. We have one that talks about credit cards specifically, and then we do have one on home buying basics because we know homeownership is a really common goal. So if you're interested in any of those topics, you can attend our classes. And then a couple other things that you could do. So one of the services that Heather provides is credit report reviews. Really common goal, increasing your credit score. And to be honest, most, if not all of the other goals we kind of talked about are pretty much directly tied to credit health and whatnot, like the ability to save money and reducing debt and so on. Credit is involved in a lot of our goals and pretty much every aspect of our lives. So credit report review, quick 20-minute appointment with either Heather or her colleague Remy. You will get a soft pull copy of your credit report. They'll review it with you, make sure that you understand the nuances, offer personalized recommendations for how you can build your credits, things you might be able to do. And what's really cool about our credit report view is that you actually also get a copy of your FICO credit score, which is really important. That's used by 90% of lenders. You don't have a lot of options for getting that free out there. So being able to get a soft pull copy of your report and your FICO score is huge. So that's a great option. And then Sasha is one of our coaches. So if you're ready to like really dive in, really want to aggressively pursue some of your goals, financial coaching might be a great option for you. Sasha can help you figure out that debt reduction plan, that savings plan, take the information you've been given from Heather in your credit report review and help you take those steps. You don't have to do this alone. We are here to support you along the way. Anything y'all want to add?
I would say our services are no cost.
Yes. Oh my God, how could I forget? Yes, they will not cost you anything. Yeah, excellent. Thank
We're
you.
super flexible, so it's okay if it can't be 9 to 5.
Yes.
I mean, so.
Yep, and we offer virtual and in-person appointments to go along with that flexibility. So yeah, Prosperity Connection is here to help. We know this time of the year can bring lots of joy, but can also bring lots of stress. And we just want to be here to support y'all. So we appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. One last time, prosperityconnection.org is our website, and you can check out all the services that I just mentioned there. So thanks, y'all. Happy holidays.